Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Reserved Investments. And today we're going to be talking about GameStop. Because normally on this channel, I teach collectible finance to collectors, investors, and speculators operating in the antiques and collectibles trade. Today, however, I need to teach the antiques and collectibles trade to the people who handle finance. So if you're one of these individuals that is wondering what's going on with GameStop right now, how is their entry into the graded Pokemon market going to matter over the long term? This video is for you. So as of October 16th, 2024, there was an excellent article that premiered on Seeking Alpha. If you don't know what Seeking Alpha is, it's one of those wonderful paid for membership sites that does have some free articles from time to time that talk about how to analyze stocks, companies. It's more for investors and speculators who are looking to invest in the stock market through individual companies. Now, make no mistake, my core portfolio, when we talk about financial assets, is all invested in index funds. I do very little with individual stocks unless if there is a unique movement in the market. For instance, back during the Corona crash, when the pandemic was raging, oil prices dropped substantially. I did make a lot of investments in oil companies at that particular point in time. There were other companies that I went after simply because the share price dropped substantially. Over the long term, though, I tend to invest a lot of my financial assets in, of course, index funds, which is what I really preach on this channel when we're not talking about awesome antiques and collectibles. Now, this article that premiered on October 16th, 2024 on Seeking Alpha is entitled, GameStop May Have Figured Out Their Next Venture and It Could Work. I honestly like the analysis here, but I disagree with it. And we're going to go through this. I'm just going to give you the bullet points. I'm not going to read the full article. I will post a link to it in the video description below. Spoiler alert, you may actually need a paid account to read this article, or potentially, I do know there's sites out there where you can get around the paywall. So I'll put a link. If you guys want to try to get around the paywall and read the article, you can. In my full analysis, though, this person is off his rocker. I mean, it's a good analysis. I just don't agree with it. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. So this is the main points of this video, and then I'm going to give you my response. This is what this individual states from the summary. GameStop's shift to trading cards and partnerships with PSA could offset declining video game sales, positioning it as a national card shop chain. Now, again, I'm just going to read through these, then I'll give my rebuttal as to why I think this is nonsense. Number two, GameStop's strong balance sheet with over $4 billion in cash and minimal debt provides a significant runway for reinvention and new business ventures. Point three, the trading card market's growth and synergies with video games offer GameStop opportunities to host leagues and tournaments and create content enhancing customer engagement. And the final point that this individual makes, upgrading my view on GameStop to neutral due to improved financials and strategic moves in the trading card market, offering potential for future probability. Now, again, this is your typical financial analyst who does not really understand the collectibles marketplace. And to be fair, he doesn't really need to understand the collectibles marketplace to make a determination in this regard. I just consider his thesis to be 100% bullshit, which is why I want to do a video on this and talk to you guys about how I feel with GameStop offering to take in graded Pokemon cards and also, more importantly, take in raw cards and send them to PSA for their customers to be graded as well, because that's a different dynamic that we also have to discuss in this video. So let me go through these talking points first. I'm going to give you my response. Then we'll finalize this video with an overview of what I think about GameStop playing in this market, GameStop sending cards on behalf of their customers to PSA to get graded. So let's start with point one here in the summary. GameStop's shift to trading cards and partnerships with PSA could offset declining video game sales, positioning it as a national card shop chain. Well, in all honesty, let's do the math here. Most card shops are not doing that great right now because there's this thing called the internet where most people, most serious speculators and investors and collectors that go after Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, any of these collectible card games, they're either buying them from the case to put away factory sealed, speculating in the product, or they're going after graded cards. And if you're going after graded cards, your best bet, in my opinion, to get the best deals is to go online and compete at online auction sites. If you're on the high end, you're going to be geared towards PWCC or even heritage auctions, possibly even eBay in certain cases. If you're on the low end, you're probably going to stick to eBay and the like. But make no mistake, GameStop, just because they have a footprint in place with all their stores, does not mean they're going to simply be able to position themselves to pivot from video games to trading cards. That's completely ridiculous. It doesn't matter how much cash they have on hand. It matters how competent the management team is. And at present time, we've seen how incompetent their management team is. Look at what happened when they tried to get into selling vintage video games. All the fakes they got in their hands. Look at all the YouTube videos, all the talk on their new venture, GameStop Retro, where now they're going back in to selling and trading in that vintage and retro video games. It's not working out because their management team is completely incompetent. Their management team is just taking ideas, throwing them against the wall like spaghetti, and seeing what sticks. And I've said this before, I'll say it again. They need to really take on a serious attitude, bring in the right people, and they can turn their company around. The problem is they don't want to, and this is what brings me to the next point here that I'm going to respond to. GameStop's strong balance sheet with over $4 billion in cash and minimal debt provides a significant runway for reinvention and new business ventures. Well, let's be honest. How did they get that $4 billion? It was the Timmies bidding up the stock because a hedge fund came in and was short selling the stock, and that's what caused the stock price to pop. This is not due to the management team making good, competent business decisions. It was just a circumstance that happened, much like the same thing went on with AMC and other meme stocks at the time. Hedge funds were short selling a lot of these shares, and the retail Timmies caught on, gotten bored, and shot the stock price right up. Well, if you're a company, you obviously own your own shares. You can sell some of those shares at the high price that stock is now achieving, and now you're going to have access to more capital. So all is what the Timmies did when that occurred was they enriched GameStop and their executives, by and large, at the expense of a hedge fund. And that's why, to be 100% honest with you guys, I did make money during that time on GameStop stock when that was happening. But I always had a problem with ethics because all is what we were doing was, in all actuality, punishing a hedge fund and rewarding the executives at GameStop who do not deserve that share price, meaning they did nothing, anything miraculous in the business world to dictate that their share price should be several $100s a share for GameStop stock. The company pretty much sucks. So that's how I'm going to respond to that. It's completely ridiculous that now we're looking back at GameStop saying, well, they have $4 billion in the bank. The reason they have $4 billion in the bank is due to the Timmies out there that wanted to take down a hedge fund, and rightfully so. I'm right there with you. You guys know my political views. Come on. But at the same token, all is what we did was we enriched bad businesses like this and their executive team. And now they have money to try out new things without competency. And that's a recipe for disaster. Let me respond to some of these other bullet points here. The trading card market's growth and synergies with video games offer GameStop opportunities to host leagues and tournaments and create content enhancing customer engagement. Well, that's true, but you could say that about any card shop. And we all know if you're going to get into this business in this day and age, you have to create a unique experience that causes the Timmys, the Kimmys, and the Poindexters to want to do business with your establishment rather than just going online and finding the lowest possible price point to buy these items. Now, to be fair, could GameStop potentially do something with tournaments, with leagues in this market that nobody else is doing? I'm sorry, I just don't see it, because they could do that right now with video games, and they're choosing not to. So how all of a sudden are they going to have an epiphany and start pivoting towards collectible card games as opposed to video games and making smart, intelligent business decisions when they're already not doing that in the video game realm? Physical media is still something that has life left in it. And I wish that GameStop would really take a look in the mirror and realize what they could do to prolong that life. They could form partnerships with limited run games. They could go to some of these companies and go, hey, let's put out a limited release of this latest Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox game in physical form, whatever it is. And they would be able to draw customers into their stores. If they can't do it with video games, how the hell are they going to be able to do it in the collectible card space when everybody buying this stuff is just looking for the cheapest price point to buy it from? Let's be realistic here. One more point I want to respond to here is this person is upgrading their view on GameStop to neutral due to improved financials and strategic moves in the trading card market, offering potential for future profitability. Again, I completely disagree with this analysis. All is what they did. They looked at the writing on the wall and said, you know, we're in Funko Pops, we sell t-shirts, we sell video games. Video games appear to be going away in physical form in a certain manner. We suck at taking trade-ins for retro games. Let's enter the Pokemon market in mass. And without any forethought into this, they just ventured into this space, not really understanding the market. So this particular analysis, if you're reading this article thinking that you should invest in GameStop, I got news for you. You're a fucking idiot. GameStop isn't doing anything to further their longevity in the dying market that they're in. They need to get back to their roots. I've done a whole video on this where I talked about the steps that GameStop could take to turn their dying company around. They don't want to do it. The board's not interested in it because, again, during the meme stock craze, which happened during the pandemic, all the executives got rich. They loaded their pockets with all this money that they did not deserve, and now they're riding high. And that's why they have $4 billion in cash at present time. Now let's talk about the relationship between GameStop and PSA, because on paper, it does look pretty good. Let's be realistic. If you want to send cards to PSA, Professional Sports Authenticator, to get graded and encapsulated, and you're like 10 or 12 years old and you love Pokemon, well, in order to do that yourself, you have to have a membership with PSA, which typically starts at roughly $150 a year, and that's just the cost of the membership. We're not talking about the cost of grading anything with that membership. Now, with that being said, for a younger individual who just loves Pokemon and wants to get some cards graded, I think it's great that they can go to GameStop if you want to trust them with your hard-earned cards here. And they can pay GameStop to send those cards off the PSA, get graded, and then return them to you, so you're bypassing that $150 membership fee. Do I think that this is a great service across the board? No, I don't. Because again, we have to deal with GameStop's incompetence. These are lower paid employees that are going to be handling these cards, sending them off to be graded. And why, to be fair, there probably is some level of training here. There probably is some level of understanding that they got to handle the cards with care. Still, a lot can go wrong in this process. If it's just a one-off thing where little Timmy Jr. wants a couple of cards graded, he begs his mom and dad His mom and dad finds this program, goes to GameStop and says, you know what, little Timmy Jr., normally we would have to pay $150 for a membership, plus grading fees, shipping fees, the whole 9 yards on top of that, to get you these 12 coveted Pokemon cards that you have graded and encased in plastic. We can just go to GameStop, we can let them handle it, and we just pay a small fee. It does make sense in that scenario. But do I think that GameStop is going to be able to put a dent in the market by going this route directly, competing with a lot of the high-profile investors, speculators, collectors, a lot of the online dealers, and people who offer this similar service? No, I don't think that GameStop, just because they decided to pivot from video games now to Pokemon cards, they're going to be able to put any type of serious dent in this market. So those of you that keep reaching out to me, asking me what I think about GameStop getting into this market, don't get me wrong. If they could potentially actually pull their heads out of their proverbial asses and figure out this market, this could be a good long-term move. But given GameStop's track record of getting into vintage video games, retro video games, what a disaster that was, I don't see them being able to pull this off at present time. If, however, new developments occur, and I do see them going in that direction, I will give credit where credit is due and do a follow-up video and tell you guys, hey, I was wrong. GameStop's really making strides. This is what I thought was going to happen. This is what is happening. It looks like they may actually be able to pivot in this regard. But at present time, with their current CEO, with their current management team, I just don't see it happening because a lot of these individuals got rich with easy money. And what is it that I tell you guys? If you have access to easy money, you make very bad decisions because you're used to the money. You didn't earn it. You didn't put in the time. And that's exactly what happened to GameStop during the pandemic when the stock price was trending at all-time highs and they were selling their shares into the market, capturing those gains. People got rich who didn't deserve to get rich. This is the end result. And make no mistake, I actually want GameStop to succeed. I've done earlier videos on this channel where I talk about how a lot of video game enthusiasts, once GameStop goes away, you will miss GameStop because there will be no more mall store video game retailers left at this point. And it is going to be a tragic loss to the video game community and potentially in this case, the Pokemon collecting community, because it just seems that that's the direction they're going. Anyway, I've rambled for about 18 minutes on this. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And if needed, I will gladly do a follow-up video on this. Thank you for watching.